Okay, I think I've tried this like 14 times or something. This is the Yarn Equals Joy podcast, episode 11. I'm Rachel. This is where you can find me. I am Rachel Book Girl on, and that's upside down, isn't it? Oh gosh, it was right side up the first 5 times I did this. Okay, episode 11. Today is July 4th. Happy Independence Day if you're in the States. Happy summer if you're anywhere else. Rachel Book Girl on Instagram, Rachel on Rav, and Joan Mag Bags on Etsy, and I'm going to try to get some new bags up there soon if you want to check those out. Okay, so welcome. I have been to the Montana Mountain Retreat since I last saw you. It was the second year of the retreat. I was there last year as well. It's put on by Candice of Farmer's Daughter Fibers. Last year, Caitlin Hunter was the only teacher. This year she reprised her role but was joined by Andrea Mowry and Bristol Ivy. It's pretty unusual in any field to have the top 3 of anything. Imagine the top 3 writers in the world, or the top 3 cellists, or the top 3 pitchers all sit there and be available to you in such a small group of just 40 people. So that was pretty amazing. I opted to take Andrea's class and Bristol's class because I had taken Caitlin's class last summer. Andrea had just released a pattern, another mosaic pattern called Mosaic Mountain Mosaic Cowl or something like that. And that's what we were working on. It is a rare treat to see a new pattern and have the designer of that pattern look over your shoulder and walk you through it. I, however, was not incredibly successful. I bought the kit and I had my first spin cycle and some of Candice's yarn. I have to say none of the kits were exactly what I would have chosen on my own, so maybe that had something to do with it. But nevertheless, I think I just can't multitask, and there were lots of people doing lots of things, and I screwed up at some point and then just ripped it all out. So I don't have that to show you. I'm sure lots of you are already doing that pattern, and it is a beautiful pattern. I just maybe will start with a smaller piece of mosaic knitting to sort of get my feet wet. Bristol's class was really fascinating. She really sort of opened the box of designing and let us sort of imagine knitwear as fabric and how we would shape that fabric using decreases and increases and short rows and things like that. Probably a bit above my pay scale at this point in my knitting career, life, hobby, but very, very cool. And I sketched out a few things that were, things I could really see making. There was a wrap that had a cable up the middle that I think I might do at some point, and I will show you if I do. So it was a fun experience. I went with my friend Stephanie. Hi Stephanie, if you're watching, and her friends who I was so lucky to be able to meet, Debbie and Shelley and Eve and Cindy. And Debbie and Cindy and I traveled to and from Dallas and Houston at some point. It's a long story. The flights kind of got screwed up together. So I had extra time with them and really enjoyed getting to know them, and just grateful that they allowed me to come along on one of their knitting adventures. So that was really fun. Okay, so hopefully this will be the final version of this episode 11 because I don't think I have it in me to start over again. So that's about the retreat. There is one other little piece of sort of, I don't know where it goes, but I will just insert it here. Before we went, I started to feel a little achy, that my wrists were hurting, and at first it was my right hand, then it seemed to be on my left hand, and I stopped knitting for a few days. I took a lot of a leave, not more than you should, but I took a leave. And everything seemed to be okay. I was really worried that I wouldn't be able to knit for the retreat, which kind of is not a fun way to go to a knitting retreat if you can't knit. But I started feeling better. But in my sort of panic, I remembered that I had never ordered Carson Demere's book that people have talked about called Knitting Comfortably. And I thought, gosh, I'm not a spring chicken and I want to be knitting forever. and what can I do? And so I looked it up on Amazon, and it was some crazy price on Amazon already, like $1,900, which don't do that. Please don't do that. And I cannot believe someone would do that. But I found it at Web still. They had copies. They were still not cheap. It was like $40 or $45, but I haven't gone through it yet, but this is what it looks like if you haven't seen it. And I was telling a new friend of mine who is actually a occupational therapist specializing in hands, and I was telling her about it, and she was really fascinated that there was this whole book. You know, it even shows like positioning your hand over a keyboard, things that I think a lot of us really need. I'm a teacher in my real life, and I certainly need that. So, because I'm on the computer a lot. So just if you're thinking about it, if I can't, you know, really give a real review or anything yet, I haven't really had a chance to go through it, but I do think that if it's something that concerns you, as I'm sure it concerns many of us, especially people who find themselves knitting a lot, and I think maybe that was the problem, that because school is out, I have more free time, maybe I'm knitting a lot more than I normally would be, I guess. Anyway, it just would behoove us to keep our hands and everything in good working order. So, enough said about that. On to FOs, and I do have one very special one finally, and I did take it with me, thank goodness, to the Montana retreat. This is my Helen Stewart Dust of Snow shawl. Maybe we can get a screenshot. Anyway, we'll see. That may have been annoying. As you can see, I did a lot of colors and then repeated them while holding everything with a very deep magenta mohair strand. So it's a strand of fingering, which I alternated, and a strand of mohair. And while Helen Stewart, recommends a fade, I did not fade into the colors because the mohair really faded everything for me, I felt. I live in Texas. It's really, really, really hot here right now, so I don't need a shawl around me. But I will say these are my colors. This could not be softer or squishier. I'll just leave it on until I start dying of the heat. But it's really, really a wonderful knit. It is kind of confirmed for me that I do love this wrap shape. This is a great shawl. It's really big and kept me warm when Montana was really chilly, and I just kind of wrapped it around me. It's also great for airplanes when the airplane got a little crazy, although for much of the flight when we were stuck on the ground we had the opposite problem and it was sweltering. But anyway, you get the idea. It's really, really fun and I love it. So excited about that. Excited to have that big project done and off the needles and on the body. Okay, next I am planning a little trip up east with two of my three kids, my two sons and I. I don't think I've ever had a trip where it's just me and my, excuse me, my two grown sons. So I'm more than a little bit excited about that, but I am the kind of mom who always shows up with something. And even though I know it's hot, they both love the hats and having hand knit hats. So I thought I would make two and let them pick. Hopefully they won't both pick the same hat. The pattern is called Rafa's Hat by Joji Locatelli. I can't remember if it's a free pattern. I assume it is a free pattern, or at least not very much, because it's incredibly simple. But that's actually a good thing. It was really fun to have a pattern that I could just sort of whip out, and I made these two versions. This is out of Mad Tosh Decay in Whiskey Barrel, and the other one is, this mustardy one is Cascade 220 in the color 4010, and that's a Peruvian Highland wool. And I think this one's probably a little bigger. This is probably a worsted. And I did do the same size, which was the middle size. I want to show you these tags, which are new to me. This is from All This Wood on Etsy, and they have that little icon on one side, and then on the other side, one of them says "From Rachel with Love," and the other has my initials. And they're attached by grommets, which I hadn't done before, but was very easy to do. And it just gives it a very sort of, I think, kind of sophisticated and finished look. So very neat. So anyway, the boys don't watch the podcast, but I think that's going to be a fun gift to bring to them and let them choose. And who knows, maybe we'll get lucky and there will be some cold, breezy weather on the water when we take a boat ride, and they will snap out their hats and put them on and be so happy that I brought them. So knitters can only hope that wherever we go there's cold weather. Or is that just me? Okay, so that's the FOs. Let me show you some whips. I have one I think that you've seen, and two that are new. The one you've seen is the gift from my friend, who I also think does not watch. It's almost done. This is the Goldfish Memory Shawl, again that same wrap style, by Casapinka, and it came out really, really well because I'm using 4 different yarns, and they're all 4 from different companies. I think they're all singles. The green is, let me see. The green is Knit Style, Simply Singles in Pretty Poison. And the black and white is Hedgehog, Skinny Singles in Magpie. The gray is the Lichen and Lace in Pewter. And Tashmo Light in Viper is the black. So I really got to play with blacks and grays with a little bit of this really cool apple-y green thrown in. And I am playing a little bit fast and loose with the pattern. I'm making sections, especially near the end, bigger as I see that I have lots of yarn and it's not quite as long as I would like it. I have one more section of these stripes with the black, and then the speckled white and black, and that'll go on for a bit, and then there'll be a lace section with the gray, and I think that'll be it, and then I will bind off. I'm not going to see this friend until, I mean, I'm going to see her, but I'm not going to go to her her Colorado home until, what am I trying to say? I'm not going to go see her at where I need to bring the house gift until the beginning of August. So I'm really on track for that and happy about that. And then the other friend that I was making the shawl for, I will not be visiting, so she will get that at some other point, maybe as a birthday gift or something. Again, I don't think anybody watches, so although I did screw up, because the baby sweater that I showed you last time for my friend Stephanie's new grandson, she has never commented. I assume she didn't watch, and then when I handed it to her, she said, yeah, I saw this, so I should be careful. But if nobody says something, I don't assume people are watching. I certainly don't automatically assume people are watching this, even though I watch 8 million podcasts. I don't assume everybody else does. Okay. Next, I think I showed you the yarn, maybe the pattern. I don't think I had it cast on. This is the Glacia shawl. That's Glacia. It's by Tammy Canavan Soldat. Tammy Canavan Soldat. This is sort of what it looks like. I think it was made out of, maybe I showed this last time. It was made out of the sheep cheese whirl, and that's how I found it. I saw a lot of crochet patterns, and I thought maybe of trying to crochet, but then I realized my crochet skills they're just not that good. I am using this sheep cheese whirl, which is cotton and acrylic, 60/40, and it's the Watermelon Hellraiser color. And you can see it really has a lot of my colors that I love, these peachy pinks. It just has a really fun feeling. First of all, it's a gradient. Second of all, it has just a pretty simple pattern, but it forms these really neat sections, and then you just repeat it, and the color does a lot of the work. And I love the way that as it's changing colors, because of the cotton, it sort of brings in some of the white, and then it gets sort of whiter near the top or lighter. It's just really fun. This section is kind of a pain in the ass. At some point you're knitting 3 through the back loop, which not my cup of tea, but you don't do it that often, and it does make sort of a neat line. So I think I'm gonna do that. I did get off with the lace again when I was at the retreat, and I screwed around, but I decided not to rip back because this is something that will not be laid out. It will be scrunched up, and when it's scrunched up you can't see my boo-boo, so I'm gonna leave that. And Stephanie, if you're watching, this next one is because of your enabling 100,000%. So she is a huge sweater maker, gorgeous sweaters, and she's made several millies, which is a pattern by Nice and Knit. And that's the millie. And it looks great on her. I have a very different figure. She is very petite. I'm not. I wish I was petite. But when I was at the retreat, I bought this yarn by Farmer's Daughter Fibers. It's called their Moon Sisters. I think it's her newest base. It's 75 merino, 20 nylon, and 5 stellina. And the color is Pukuni, P-U-K-U-N-I. It's kind of a mauve-y, burgundy. The thing that really got me was, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but the stellina is really the color. It doesn't look silver or gold. It really dyed the color of the yarn, and so it's very, very subtle. And so you just see a little shimmer. I'm just starting, and for those of you who are sticklers for things like gauge, you're not going to be very happy. I did not do a gauge swatch, and not only that, I went down a needle. I think it called for a size American US size 7, and I used a 6, partly because I don't like things that are really loose. This is a light fingering yarn, and it was so loosey-goosey anyway, and I'm glad I didn't. So I'm probably gonna make the medium, maybe the large. I think the medium will be fine. It has a lot of positive ease in it, and I think that will work out. Again, I think one of the things, unless I'm crazy, that seemed unusual about this pattern was that every size started with the same cast on, and then it just grows differently. So I think that'll be good, but I don't know. We'll just see. It's kind of an experiment. It is sitting in one of my bags, which I love, and if anybody wants one, there's some bags still on the website, and I may make some more. And I may also put up some of the Notions pouches. They're really nice because they fold over and become a really nice big bucket. And then they have this handle, and the handle has stitch markers on it. So if you don't see what you want, they're colors that you might like. I have a very big fabric stash, like I have a very big yarn stash, so just email me and I'll see what I can whip up. Okay, so that is the third whip. And next I have a really cool thing to show you. There is this picture. Let's see if I can get it for you. This picture, that is my daughter, and she is doing something. I think she was in Austin, Texas at the time, and there was a lovely horse dressed up as a unicorn with pink hooves and hair, and Emily was in a, kind of black outfit with a royal blue shirt, and I just love this picture. So when the Knot House said that they were doing a contest where you could send in a photo for inspiration and they would consider making yarn and you would get 2 skeins of the yarn, I sent that in. Yeah, I did, because I thought it was such a cute picture, and I love my daughter, and it just made me laugh to see this fake unicorn, and I love the colors. I'm a huge pink person. So anyway, Heather chose my yarn, and I just got the 2 skeins from the Knot House. It's called, very appropriately, and they don't even know Emily, it's called Free Spirit. It is absolutely so much fun. It is like a light white, off-white or pink with speckles of pink, and then deep pink, and then some really fun like shades of blue and black, and it just is gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. It is on a base that I knew nothing about. It's really interesting. It is diamond sock, which is 20% mohair, 55% superfine superwash merino, and 25% nylon. So you could use it for anything. I don't know yet what I'm gonna do for it. Maybe I'll make Emily and I matching socks. It's really fun. I love it. They also sent a really sweet little Knot House podcast pin, which I am really happy to have, and a lovely note. So you may remember I won yarn from the Knot House months ago, and I just am not someone who wins. I don't win things I don't know. I'm not one of those people, and to have won twice from the Knot House, I think they're my, lucky little angels, and so I will keep watching and keep trying. That was really, really fun. So I think that brings us to other kinds of joy. I am not going to do a sharing the joy this segment. I just sent out the last prize. Hi Dags, if you're watching, I hope you got it. I hope you're back from your trip and loved it. Let me know. But I'm at 99, kind of stuck at 99 subscribers. If you have a podcast, please think of mentioning me if you like this podcast. Thumbs up, subscribe. I would really like to break into 100. And if I get to 150, or when I get to 150, positive thinking, I will do another giveaway, and it'll be a nice one. So again, please help me get there. If you have any way of doing it. I have no real cachet on social media, but some of you might. So if you do, that would be great. Thank you. That would be great. Okay. So other kinds of joy, it's summer. I've been reading a ton because no school. I just finished this, The Body Lies by Jo Baker. It's, sort of classified as somewhere a hybrid between a thriller and literary fiction, and it is. I won't say it's like my favorite thing that I've ever read, but it kept my attention. The characters were interesting. I wasn't quite sure where everything was going, yeah, it was a good read, good summer read for sure. I also read Educated, which is by Tara Westover, and it's a memoir. If you haven't yet read it, you need to go out and grab it. I'm assuming it'll be out in paperback soon. She was raised in a survivalist family in a rural part of the country, and had not been educated, and really had to make sure that everything that happened for her happened completely on her own, although there were some good angels along the way who helped her, and good teachers and things. But it's really interesting, well written, and I will use it in my senior seminar next spring, so I'm gonna keep my copy with all the notes. And finally, this one is a really strange thriller, The Woman in the Window. There are it's by A.J. Finn, tons of references to Hitchcock films, and you can see the influence very much. There is some controversy around the author. This is a nom de plume. He was actually an editor in publishing in New York and London, and sounds like a crazy character. There's an amazing New York Times long article about him and his stories that he's told about himself that may not be exactly accurate. So there is a mystery in the book, but then there's also a greater mystery about who this author is and kind of his deal. Nevertheless, very much a page turner, very much great beach reading. Even though I'm not on a beach, I'm in a really hot house in Houston, Texas. But anyway, it's great. And if you like that kind of book, that's something fun. And finally, film. I just went to see yesterday the film that is really a love song to the Beatles. I read some criticism of it, that it wasn't, sort of, if you were going for sort of the rom-com romance aspect of it, that sort of falls short. And I have to kind of agree. There's a montage at the end that is sort of the sweetest romance part of the whole film. The rest of it, I just didn't really sense the chemistry. But the film was a feel-good movie, as many others have said. And if you like the Beatles, or forgot how much you like the Beatles, or want to be reminded about the Beatles, or want to be introduced to the Beatles if you're really, really, really young, it was wonderful. It was lots of fun. The music was great. And it was just a fun movie. It is based on a really ridiculous conceit that everybody forgets about the Beatles. So if you're someone who's a stickler and can't handle things that seem a little outlandish, then this might not be your flick. But if you can just kind of go with the flow, it's really fun. Okay, so we're still under 30 minutes. Thank you so much for watching. Again, comments below if you want to talk to me. Like, subscribe. That would be awesome. If you can tell anyone about this, that would be appreciated too. Have a great week, weeks until I get back to you, probably, I'm guessing sometime at the end of this month or in August. Happy knitting. Enjoy the joy. Bye.